Cinderella. Once upon a time, in a quiet village surrounded by green hills and blooming meadows, there lived a sweet and gentle girl named Cinderella. She lived with her father in a cozy house filled with sunlight and laughter. But one day, her father remarried, bringing a new wife and two stepsisters into their home. At first, Cinderella tried her best to welcome them. She shared her toys and showed them her favorite spots in the garden. But the stepmother and stepsisters were cold-hearted and selfish. They cared only for wealth and appearances. Cinderella's father, though kind, often traveled for work, leaving Cinderella at the mercy of her stepmother. When he tragically passed away, the stepmother took over the household and revealed her true colors. She gave Cinderella the smallest room in the attic and made her work as a servant. Despite the cruelty, Cinderella remained kind and optimistic. She often whispered to the birds outside her window, sharing her dreams and finding comfort in their cheerful songs. Her favorite bird was a little robin, who seemed to understand her every word. The life of a servant. Cinderella's days were filled with endless chores. Every morning, she woke up before sunrise, her hands raw from scrubbing floors and her feet tired from running errands. Her stepsisters, Anastasia and Drizella, never lifted a finger. Instead, they spent their time bickering over clothes and boasting about their imagined importance. Cinderella! Drizella shouted one morning. "Where is my ribbon? The blue one with the silver trim? And where is my breakfast?" added Anastasia. "Do you expect me to starve?" "I'll bring it right away," Cinderella replied, forcing a smile. She hurried to serve them, balancing a tray in one hand while tying Drizella's ribbon with the other. Her stepmother watched from her chair, sipping tea. "Hurry up, Cinderella," she said coldly. "You still need to clean the entire house." Cinderella nodded, her heart heavy but her spirit unbroken. After finishing her chores, she escaped to the garden, her favorite place. Among the flowers, she felt free. She spoke to the animals, who seemed to listen and care. One day, she said to the robin, "I wish I could fly away like you, far from here, to a place where kindness matters." The robin chirped in agreement, as if promising her that better days were ahead. The royal announcement. One crisp morning, the village square buzzed with excitement. A royal messenger, dressed in bright red and gold, arrived on horseback. He blew his trumpet and read from a scroll. "By order of the king, a grand ball will be held at the palace in honor of the prince. All young ladies of the kingdom are invited to attend." The stepsisters screamed in delight. "I must meet the prince," cried Anastasia. "He will fall in love with me," declared Drizella. Cinderella, hearing the news, couldn't help but dream. "Do you think I could go?" she asked her stepmother. "You," the stepmother sneered. "The prince would never look at you." "But," she added with a sly smile, "if you finish all your chores and find a suitable dress, you may go." Cinderella worked harder than ever, scrubbing, sewing, and cleaning until her hands ached. She found an old dress that had belonged to her mother and began to repair it. She added ribbons and beads, dreaming of the night she would dance in the palace. But when her stepsisters saw the dress, they tore it apart. "You can't wear this. It's hideous," they laughed, ripping the fabric. Heartbroken, Cinderella ran to the garden. She sat under the willow tree and cried, her tears sparkling like dew on the grass. The Fairy Godmother appears. As Cinderella wept, a soft light surrounded her. She looked up to see a kind old woman with twinkling eyes and a warm smile. "Why are you crying, my dear?" the woman asked. Cinderella explained everything, her voice trembling. "Don't worry," the woman said. "I am your fairy godmother, and I'm here to help." With a wave of her wand, the fairy godmother transformed a pumpkin into a grand golden carriage. She turned the mice into elegant white horses, the lizards into footmen, and the old rat into a coachman. But what will I wear? Cinderella asked shyly. The fairy godmother smiled. Close your eyes, and don't open them until I say so. When Cinderella opened her eyes, she gasped. She was wearing the most beautiful gown she had ever seen, shimmering like the night sky. On her feet were delicate glass slippers. Now, remember, said the fairy godmother, the magic will only last until midnight. You must leave the ball before the clock strikes 12. Cinderella promised and climbed into the carriage. The ball in detail. When Cinderella arrived at the palace, her heart raced. The grand ballroom was filled with chandeliers, glittering jewels, and music that seemed to dance through the air. The guests turned to stare as she entered. Who is she? They whispered. The prince, standing at the top of the stairs, couldn't take his eyes off her. He approached her with a smile. May I have this dance? He asked. Cinderella felt her cheeks flush. Yes, she said softly. They danced for hours, talking and laughing as if they had known each other forever. The prince shared stories of his childhood, and Cinderella, for the first time, felt truly seen and understood. Meanwhile, her stepsisters watched in jealousy. Who does she think she is? Hissed Anastasia. I've never seen her before, said Drizella, narrowing her eyes. But Cinderella didn't notice them. She was lost in the magic of the night, the midnight escape. As the clock began to chime midnight, Cinderella's heart sank. She pulled away from the prince. I must go, she cried. Wait, he called, but she was already running. In her haste, she lost one of her glass slippers on the palace steps. She didn't stop to pick it up, vanishing into the night just as the magic wore off. The prince picked up the slipper and declared, I will find her, no matter what it takes. The search and happy ending. The prince sent his servants to search every house in the kingdom. When they arrived at Cinderella's house, the stepsisters tried desperately to fit the slipper. They pushed and squeezed, but it was no use. Is there anyone else here? The servant asked. No, said the stepmother quickly, but Cinderella appeared. May I try? She asked. The slipper fit perfectly. The servant smiled and said, You are the one. Cinderella was brought to the palace, where the prince recognized her immediately. They were married in a grand celebration, and Cinderella's dreams of kindness and love finally came true. As for her stepmother and stepsisters, they learned the importance of humility and kindness, and their lives changed for the better too. And so, Cinderella and the prince lived happily ever after. The end.